Well, hey everybody, this is David Nagy here at eTail Canada, eTail Toronto, I think we call it now. This is 2026 version of eTail. And in May, I'm joined by a special guest with Rethink Retail, Jeremy Goldman. Hey, welcome to the Commerce Rewired stage, man. I think this is our start.
I
The
like the
pod.
backdrop. This is great.
This is awesome, man.
How do you feel about the eTail Canada versus eTail Toronto?
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a homebody. I've been around eTail Canada for a lot of years, going back maybe 15 or so years in my career, Jeremy. So I've really, we have a kingship with this event, and I think they have rebranded it eTail Toronto now, and I can live with that. I'm okay with it, but I do miss the
That's fair,
Canada.
but it's a big country, and I think we are physically in Toronto. That was fair.
It
Yeah.
is, it is fair, right? So there's a lot to unpack there, and you and I, we've been going deep already. We're going to unpack some things. Talk to us about Rethink Retail. So you've shared with me that you're a little bit new in this role. This is an exciting new venture for you, Jeremy.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be joining the company at frankly an incredibly exciting time because we're fully invested in evolution to being more of a community platform. So a place for the whole entire retail ecosystem to come together and for people to connect with. Do you need a vendor to help you with your POS? Do you need a trusted expert to come in and solve something for you? I'm looking for advice on somebody who went through a whole ERP migration. How do I solve retail media? The answer, to all those things can basically be down through our communities and grow fast.
Sounds like a collision of a bunch of experts and thought leaders. So I'm hearing a consultancy, I'm hearing content, I'm hearing thought leadership. Is it fair to say that Rethink is involved in all of those things?
Yeah, I mean, thought leadership, I don't know what you think, but I feel like it's almost a term that can we think of a different, if everybody's a thought leader, nobody's a thought leader, but we do have access to the best and brightest, with myself being the exception, but we had a lot of really talented people who know what they're talking about. And we have a trusted retail expert group of leaders. That's one of our communities that we've got. And we also have a number of other ones, including the AI and retail community, which has did you know Toronto is having a tech week later this month? It's going to be really cool. And we had a major meetup, focused on AI there. So a lot of different programming and a lot of different events and opportunities for people to connect.
Fair to say that Rethink would be at Toronto Tech Week, a nice little plug for people to come down and see that event, I
I
think.
guess I accidentally plugged what we were doing. I didn't even think about
It's
that. There's
okay,
no
man.
chance. There's
This is
no
what we're
chance
here
that
for,
right,
to share that message because
exactly.
it's important that people come down for this. That's actually a great event. Toronto Tech Week
Oh
is
yeah.
magnificent.
Yeah,
Have you
there's no traffic at all.
Well, you guys have a little bit of you know the market well. I mean, the CEO of Rethink is a Canadian, I understand.
Yeah, yeah. Marie is from Montreal, and she's been in Toronto for years now. And yeah, so she knows the market well. I think it's also one of those things where it's a concerted, yes, I think this is a company that started in the States in northern Florida to be particular. We have a constituency, in Europe, multiple parts of Europe, all across the States, Canada as well. And it's very interesting, and I think important for retailers to notice that there are differences between all these different markets, right? I mean, we just saw a really great opening presentation that outlined how unique the Canadian market is. And we just had a very great retailer come on stage talking about the differences between Vancouver and operating in Calgary versus Toronto. So I think it's important to have a bit more of a cosmopolitan international flavor to your coverage.
Very much so. I'm glad that you recognize that, and I think it endears yourself to Canadians to understand that difference because. Yeah, I think Canadians really do feel that it is different. And because we have things like, the tariff and trade challenges right now, the de minimis exemption that was wiped up last
Yep.
August, things like that really do shine a bit of a spotlight on this. Well, this is actually different, right? It's not like, the US V2 or maybe point one, right? It is its own market. It has its own challenges, its own identity. You guys are spending a lot of time here, so you'll be back up for Tech Week.
Going to be back up for Tech Week. There's grocery tech that I'm presenting some novel research at in I think it's June 9th, I believe, so I'm gonna be getting a whole lot of frequent flyer miles specifically to Toronto over the next few weeks, but it's a great place to be, so who's complaining?
Well, you should know the locals call it Toronto. Toronto. It just kind of flows into
But
one.
see, I don't want to co-opt the whole entire, I'm like, I want to say it so that people notice me. They're like, he's not from here. Let me give him direction.
Well,
So yeah,
Canadians are friendly. They're inclined to reach out, maybe offer a hand.
it's one of those things where stereotypes are sometimes true, and I really do think that it's refreshing when you meet a mean Canadian, just because it's like, wow, so how have you survived in this market,
That's right.
right?
You don't want to be abrupt here, right? Want to drag it out. As Johnny Urso was just talking about on stage, Canadians have these long, kind of welcoming introductions. He wasn't used to that when he moved to Canada.
I thought that was really interesting. Can I, if I can turn it around on you, one thing I'm really curious about is what do you think is very specifically like the number one or number two Canadian centric like issue within the retail and e-commerce world right now?
Trade diversification, I would say, like our hyper dependence on moving product into the United States. I think I don't know the exact numbers right now, Jeremy, but I think it's around 87% of Canadian exports from the US, right? And I mean that's both a positive and a negative. I think it really speaks to the great partnership we've had for 100 plus years, but it also dictates that it's like we have to diversify, right? You have to strike. You don't have all your eggs in one basket. Doesn't mean we want less business with our partners in the US because we have a wonderful business relationship with the United States. But we do need to seek, and then and grow and embody. So if we can keep US exports moving upwards, but also diversify, I think the Prime Minister's office has stated we want to double the size of non-U.S. exports over the next 10 years. So that's a mandate coming out of Ottawa right now. And that's not about doing less business with the U.S., but it is about seeking more trade partners. I think that is what hits retail and manufacturing the most straight is like how do we expand? How do you explore new markets? How do you make good decisions at the end of the day? We need to talk to Rethink Retail about that.
I think, yeah, absolutely. I'm biased, but I think I'd probably agree. Frankly, if you even see e-commerce penetration numbers in Canada versus, in the States, I think that, you do see differences there. And I've actually talked to Paul Briggs from eMarketer where I used to work. Well, like kind of like the differences between these markets. I think that, by and large, there are a lot of Canadians who are happy enough with the retail CX, which then means, can you find ways to elevate e-commerce CX so that it just convinces people to move over to a higher margin channel? Can you
Yeah.
grow that? Because it's trade partners, but also if you're making more, as a retailer, as a manufacturer, from your home base, obviously that puts you in a better position as well.
The unit economics of running a Canadian online business are substantially different than they are, right? Just the size of the land mass, the geographical centers, like the population distribution,
Oh
it's
yeah.
more challenging. The fact that we don't produce as much, you manufacture, produce a lot more, and you homegrow things in the United States. You can get an awful lot of product into your ports as well, right? So there are certain challenges in Canada that we navigate.
Listen, I told people for a long time, if you were going to basically build a market, like just building a country and figuring out how it would, you wouldn't build something that looked like Canada, right? Where you have a whole lot of land mass where nobody lives and it's, not really so inhabitable, by and large. And then you've got all of these major cities, but they're not that close to one another and they're spread out very much so, east to west. So I think that, like you have to understand each market that you're operating in. I used to run global operations for a number of beauty brands. It's like every single market is different. I think the nuances is the key to making your operation successful.
I'm gonna borrow that one off sometime because it's a really great perspective. It's good to hear those words and understand how we can fill the market. It probably marks itself right. Yes. Canadian retailers and Canadian vendors need to adapt to that. Talk to me about the priorities for you these days at Rethink. What are you really focused on, and what kind of challenges or exciting opportunities are coming down the pipe?
Did you know that well, it turns out there's this interesting thing called AI, and also turns out that people talk about agentic commerce about once every 4 seconds.
I see it on the odd booth from time to time. Yeah.
Every time somebody says agentic commerce, do a shot. You want to try that and see how quickly you
Yeah,
die?
I'm a little boy, man. I wouldn't survive.
Yeah. So in all seriousness, what part of the thing that we're doing is increasing the relevancy of our editorial coverage, having more of it. So relevancy and more, generally a good thing. And then to actually create more of a platform where that people can access directly the types of insights that they want in a very turnkey fashion. So some of that is stuff that I'm saying very, very covertly to you and your many, many followers just because I think that this can be a long-term effort for us. That's going to be take a while, but Rome wasn't built in a day, and you have to start somewhere. So we're really trying to kind of modernize and think about like what does an editorial operation of 2030 look like, and start to build it today.
That's amazing. Well, I look forward to keeping track of you. I look forward to working with you and the team as we think a little bit more. And thank you very much for taking the time and being our first person in the booth today, Jeremy.
Thought you were going to say first victim, but I think I survived. So this is great. Thank you.
All right, brother. Macho fist bump.
Amen.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Of course.